Lilac flower painting tutorial with watercolors. I will show you my technique and approach for painting this beautiful flower. Let's go! In this tutorial I will be using round synthetic brush and fine tip brush. Now let's go to color mixing. First, Ultramarine Blue, Permanent Rose, Manganese Violet. If you don't have Manganese Violet, you can mix Ultramarine Blue with a little touch of Permanent Rose or any other pink color and you will get quite a similar color. Next one is Perylene Violet for darker tones. Let's mix Ultramarine Blue with Perylene Violet and we get a really deep dark violet color. Testing on a piece of paper. Next mix is Ultramarine Blue with Permanent Rose. This is more vibrant violet color mix, more saturated. Testing on a piece of paper. Adding a little touch of Sennelier Red or any red that you have, and it's a bit warmer violet color mix. Now we can start painting lilac flower. I will be using fine tip brush. First, I will put lemon yellow pigment on all the center pieces that I see in my reference. Really follow the reference for the guidances. Everything is visible in the reference. Reference and line drawing is available for download. Just a little points of lemon yellow or any other yellow that you have. It could be cadmium yellow, Indian yellow, but make it more transparent with water. And place those yellow dots where the center pieces of each flower heads are. More precise painting of center pieces will be later, but now we just need to reserve that space so we are not over painting with violet color. In the reference we can see very obvious yellow center parts, so we really need to leave that area for the yellow. Now I will show you on an example of one flower head of lilac flower composition how I paint, how I approach. I'm painting each flower separately, each petal separately to get this realistic, very crisp look of this lilac flower. First I'm applying a little amount of water and then loading brush with mix of Ultramarine Blue with Permanent Rose and starting applying watercolors from the area which is the darkest. I'm constantly looking on reference and you can really zoom in each flower head that you are painting at the moment and study it separately. Take a closer look, really analyze what you see, where are shadows, where are lights. It's important for realistic painting to understand shadows, to understand tonal values and leave light area as it is white paper and leave it a little bit wider than it appears in the reference, because after painting, so after a few layers, it will become smaller. Going to the next petal, approach and technique is the same. Starting from the shadow area of that exact petal, applying watercolors, spreading watercolors while the surface is still a little bit moist to the lightest part, gradually making transitions from darker to lighter. I'm making gradual transitions, making pigment color mix lighter by only diluting with water. Moving forward, apply a very small amount of water for the surface just to make it moist for the watercolors to flow more freely. And starting from the shadow area, the same technique and approach is the same, painting one petal at a time. Here I'm adding clear Permanent Rose because I see in the reference there are some pink color notions and I'm adding that to my petal. Using round and synthetic brush, dipping it in a water, drying in a paper towel, I can easily lift some pigment from the surface while it is still wet for the lightest areas if I overpainted them. Now loading brush with a very darker color mix, which is Ultramarine Blue with Perylene Violet, on the very tip of the finest brush, and I will be painting around the center part, which is lemon yellow. Really carefully, also study the reference, you will notice that around the center part there is the shadow, because the center is going deeper into the flower and it is creating the shadow around it. So now I'm very carefully with the very tip of the brush painting around that yellow part. I'm not yet touching the yellow part, just painting and creating the shadow area around it. I wash my brush in the water, clean it in a paper towel, and with the very tip of the brush I'm smoothing the edge of that shadow area, so it is not very crisp and strict end of the shadow, but it smoothly and gradually goes into the lightest part of the flower head. Now I'm strengthening the shadow areas on this flower head, constantly looking in reference, noticing where are the darkest parts, where are transitions from darker to lighter, creating half tones, and slowly this flower head is starting to look realistic, starting to look like lilac flower head with very accurate and slow progress. No need to rush here. with slow work and patience, you will get very beautiful results. This painting requires patience. It was a really test of patience for me, but the result is worth it. If you feel tired or if you feel urged to paint quicker, darker, create some kind of shortcuts, it means you need to take a break. After a short break, or even a day or two, you can come back with a fresh look, with a fresh and calmer mind, and continue painting more slower, more accurately, to create a realistic and beautiful piece. Now I'm spinning up the camera to show you some of the painting stages of this big lilac flower composition. Full tutorial is on my Patreon from the start to the finishing touches, and it's in 2 parts. The technique and approach is the same as I showed you on the first flower head. It's just a matter of studying your reference, noticing all tonal changes. Each flower head is different, is slightly different shadow areas, because flower heads are turning in different directions and the light source is coming from one direction. And each time on each petal, light is on the separate area, and shadow is also differently, slightly different changes from each flower head. If you carefully study the reference, follow the guidances, you will get a beautiful painting. Most importantly is take a little breaks while you are painting this very complex and lots of small details composition painting, and really enjoy the process. Don't rush here. This is not about the result. This is not about some kind of competition. This is all about creating a beautiful piece of art, learning something new, and enjoy the process. Now I'm at the finishing stage of painting this lilac flower composition. This was quite a long process. I was taking a lot of breaks because I also was feeling urge to paint faster and skip some areas, but that only means that I need a break, and I did took a lot of breaks, and the end result was worth it. Hope you enjoyed this process, hope you learned something new, and see you in my next tutorials. Thank you very much. Bye bye.